What's up, guys? It's Solo back with another video here on my second channel, Solo 2.0. Now today, guys, call me crazy if you want, but I went on this website called playoffpredictors.com. This is not an ad or anything. I'm just telling you the website I went on. And I basically predicted every single game of the MLB season. So I'm not going to show you guys every single game because that would take hours. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you what records I have for each of the MLB teams. We're going to get the top 6 teams from the NL and the top 6 teams from the AL. And then I'm going to fill out my playoff bracket. First, we're going to go division by division, showing you the 1 through 5 finishes. And then at the end, we will do the playoffs and I will crown a winner, the team that I think is going to win the 2022 MLB World Series. I'm recording this about a day or two early, but today, the day that I'm posting this, is the official opening day for the MLB 2022 season. I feel like I've been waiting forever. Like, I know a lot of my supporters are basketball fans, even football fans, not so much baseball fans. Hopefully we can build up the baseball fan audience on this channel, but I like baseball a lot. I've been waiting a while for this day. And something else that I like doing is just predicting things, predicting award winners, how teams are going to finish, and then I just like to look back on it. And if you guys still haven't, before we hop into this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're about to hit 9K subs on this channel, which is just crazy. So sub up, drop a like in the video, especially if you guys want to see more content like this. Let's aim for 100 likes, but without further ado, let's hop into the first division. All right, so the first division that we're going to do in this video is going to be the AL East. Now, before I tell you guys what place I have each team finishing and what their record prediction I have is, I'm going to tell you guys what the odds have their win totals being. So in 5th place in the AL East, according to the odds, they have the Orioles with 61.5 wins. This is one of the divisions that has a lot of wins. So in 4th place, the odds have the Red Sox with 86 wins. In 3rd place, the odds have the Tampa Bay Rays with 89.5 wins. In 2nd place, we got the Toronto Blue Jays with 91 wins. And in 1st place, the odds have the New York Yankees with 92 wins. All right, so in 5th place in the AL East, I have you probably guessed it, the Baltimore Orioles. I have them with a record of 58-104. So I do have them underperforming the odds a little bit. Do I think they can do worse than this? Not really. Do I think they could do better? Probably. They can probably get more wins than this, but I just think in the division that they're in with the Red Sox, the Rays, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays, like, they're going to be versing these teams a lot. And are they going to be winning a lot of these series? Probably not. They'll be lucky to win any of the series against those teams. This is a team that really only has one starting pitcher. They got John Means, who's a solid pitcher, but other than that, like, they don't really have much. Their hitting's actually not terrible. You got Cedric Mullins out in center. You got Mancini, who we know has a lot of power, Anthony Santander, and then you also have Ryan Mountcastle, who took a big step forward last year. I feel like we really don't got to talk about them a lot, though. 5th place team for sure. Now, the 4th place team that I have in the AL East, which is probably the most debatable division in all of baseball, I actually have the New York Yankees in 4th place with a record of 89-73, which is still a really good record, but I do have them in 4th place. So I do have them underperforming the odds by a couple wins, and I think the problem for me with the Yankees, and it's not really a big problem because they're a really good team. I think the problem, though, is the pitching, and I think a lot of people think the same way. You got Garrett Cole, but other than that, it's like, are you going to get solid innings out of Montgomery this year? Severino, you don't really know what you're going to get. There's a lot of wild cards in this team. The best player, Aaron Judge, or well, the best hitter, Aaron Judge, a big question with him is durability. Is he going to stay healthy the whole year? Because that's going to matter a lot. The Yankees have a solid bullpen, and as far as the hitting goes, the hitting's really good. You got Rizzo, you got Stanton, you got Judge, Hicks, LeMahieu, Gallo. This team's going to hit a lot of home runs. This team's going to put up runs, but I think in a stacked AL East, I have them coming in 4th. A lot of people have differing opinions than me, so let me know what you guys have them doing. If you got them in 1st place, if you got them in 2nd, let me know. But I personally have them in 4th, and it's not by a lot. It comes down to a couple wins, which you guys are about to see. Now, the team that I have finishing in 3rd place in the AL East is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays with a record of 92-70. So I do have the Rays overperforming by a couple wins according to the odds. You know, I have them at 92 wins. I think they're at 89.5 according to the odds. One of the big question marks for me, especially going into the postseason with the Rays, is going to be their pitching. McClanahan solid. You got Kluber, Rasmussen, but like the rest of the team's a bunch of question mark. After Shane Shane McClanahan, it's like, I don't really know what I'm going to get out of these starting pitchers. The bullpen's solid, but it's not as good as it used to be. They actually just traded Austin Meadows and signed Margot to a 2-year deal, which I feel like definitely hurts them. Austin Meadows was a key piece of that lineup. But you've got guys like Brandon Lau on the rise. You got guys like, of course, Wander Franco on the rise. And I was actually going to say this team doesn't really have like MVP caliber players, but they just got a bunch of solid players that know their role. But Wander could win an MVP, probably not this year, but in the future he could. And Brandon Lau is a very slept on player. He's very underrated. And this is just a well-managed, well-coached team that is just gonna manufacture wins, honestly, in games where they shouldn't win just because of their coaching. And so I do have the Rays in 3rd place with 3 wins above the New York Yankees. In 2nd place in the AL East, I have the Boston Red Sox with a record of 98-64. If you guys can't tell, I like the Red Sox a lot this year. A lot of people have them finishing in 4th place, but you guys see I have them overperforming the odds by 12 wins. This is a team that I just really like a lot this year. And I was gonna have them winning the division. Like at first, when I first made my predictions, I had them winning the division, but then I really thought about it, and honestly, the thing that worries me is the pitching, especially compared to the Blue Jays, which we will have in first, and we'll talk about that. This is the Red Sox starting 5 in their pitching rotation. You got Eovaldi, who is solid, but he's nothing crazy. Pivetta, Tanner Houck, who has shown some upside, Michael Wacha, and Rich Hill. Now, especially for me, because I'm a Mets fan, I've seen Wacha, I've seen Hill a lot. They're really not that good, and they worry me. They are at the back end of the rotation, but that still worries me, especially when the front end of the rotation is really not that strong. But the thing about the Red Sox that I like a lot that's going to win them so many games is their lineup. I think they probably have a top 3, top 5 lineup in baseball. I really like their lineup a lot. Adding Trevor Story, who I still like, you know, people are low on him, but I like Trevor Story a lot. Adding him to that lineup with Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, JD Martinez, like those 4 right there are crazy. You got Christian Vasquez, who is just, he's just a winner. He plays hard. You got Bobby Dahlback, who's on the rise. He's gonna hit for power. You got Alex Verdugo, who's definitely good, Gay Hernandez, and Jackie Bradley Jr. So like there's really no holes in the lineup. Maybe Jackie Bradley Jr., but he's solid, especially if he's going to be hitting like 9th. So honestly, when it comes to the AL East, the 2 teams that I am really looking for to win it, Blue Jays and Red Sox. And as you guys could probably already assume, in 1st place in the AL East, I have the Toronto Blue Jays with a record of 101-61. So I do have the Blue Jays overperforming the odds by 10 wins. I do like the Blue Jays a lot this year, and I think what it comes down to, which I just explained, is their pitching. I think their pitching is just better than some of the other teams, yeah, all the teams in this division, and at the same time, they still have really good hitting. They have a really strong starting 5 in their rotation. You got Kevin Gausman, Barrios, Ryu, Manoah, and Kikuchi. They've got a strong bullpen with Yimi Garcia and Jordan Romano. So they got really good pitching. And then when it comes to the hitting, I mean, you've got Vlad, who I think is going to win the AL MVP. You got George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, who I feel like is still underrated. He's going to put up numbers this year. Bo Bichette. Then you've still got guys like Biggio, Matt Chapman, Gurriel Jr. This is a really good team. The thing that kind of worries me about this team is they're not very experienced. I like how they do have George Springer, though, who's obviously, you know, experienced. He's been in the playoffs. But some of these other guys like Vlad, Bo Bichette, Matt Chapman, Teoscar Hernandez, a lot of these guys don't have a lot of playoff experience, and that kind of worries me. That's something that I kind of value when it comes to like winning a World Series. Doesn't even matter what sport, but winning it all, I kind of value experience, and that kind of worries me with this team. Moving on to the next division, we have the AL Central, which again, I'm going to go over the odds first. So in last place, 5th place, we got the Kansas City Royals with a projected 75.5 wins according to the odds. 4th place, Cleveland Guardians, 76.5 wins. We've got the Detroit Tigers in 3rd place with 79.5 wins. We've got the Minnesota Twins in 2nd place with 81.5 wins. And then, of course, we have the Chicago White Sox in 1st place with 91.5 wins. So my 5th place team in the AL Central is going to be the Kansas City Royals with a record of 70-92. Now, I'm going to start to go through these teams a little bit quicker. I did like talking about the AL East, so I kind of went a little bit more in depth. But with some of these teams, especially the Royals, which just aren't really good, I'm going to kind of fly through them. I really don't like this team at all. I feel like I was kind of generous giving them 70 wins. At first, I had them in the 50s, but then I was like, you know what? That's probably a little unrealistic. So I bumped them up, but I really don't like this team. I don't like their pitching at all. I don't like their hitting. Bobby Witt's going to be fun to watch this year, but I mean, you got Carlos Santana, Salvador Perez. This team's just, of course, you got Whit Merrifield, but this team's just not really going to be good. They're going to miss the playoffs for sure, and there's not much to say about them. In fourth place in this division, I have the Cleveland Guardians with a record of 73-89. So I do have the Cleveland Guardians underperforming the odds by a couple of wins or a couple losses, whatever. I have them lower than what the odds have. And at first, I had them in the 80s for wins. I think I had them at like 81 wins, but I ended up changing my mind. The reason that I had them up there is because they just seem like a team that always is solid. Like their coaching, their management always just kind of finds a way. And I like their pitching. You got Bieber, Savali, Plesac, Tristan McKenzie on the back end. You got Karinchak and Clase in the bullpen. But what really worries me is their lineup. Jose Ramirez is going to be insane. He's going to be in the conversation for MVP. But other than that, I mean, you got Franmil Reyes, and I feel like there's just a bunch of pieces that are kind of developing. You kind of want to see what's going to happen with them with Ahmed Rosario, Jimenez, Miles Straw. So there's just not really a lot here. So this is definitely going to be a team that misses the playoffs. I have them in fourth place. In third place in this division, I have the Detroit Tigers coming in with a record of 79-83. So basically, me and the odds are kind of in agreement on the Detroit Tigers. And at first, I had the Detroit Tigers doing way worse, but the more I looked at it, I was kind of sleeping on them. I feel like they're still not really going to make the playoffs, but they might be close to the conversation if they exceed my expectations. I don't think they're going to get like 90 wins, but maybe they can get into the 80s. Something that did help change my mind was when they traded for Austin Meadows a couple days ago, and then the pickup of Javi Baez is obviously going to help. I don't think he's insane, but he's definitely going to help their offense. Their pitching's really not that good, but it's going to be interesting to see Casey Mize and Tariq Skubal this year. Of course, also, you're going to have Torkelson making his major league debut this year. Something I want to say is that this division was really tough to rank for me. I mean, the first place team, which we'll get into, was kind of obvious, but other than that, you know, honestly, second through fifth was kind of tough. Do I think the Tigers will exceed 79 wins, like go into the 80s? No. Do I think they could be lower? Yes. I think that the Tigers could they'll probably be in that 70 win range this year, and that's why I have them in third place. In second place in the division, I have the Minnesota Twins with a record of 81-81. So again, me and the odds agree. This is a team with okay pitching. Looking at the starting five rotation, you got Sonny Gray, Joe Ryan, who's actually underrated, Dylan Bundy, Bailey Ober, and Chris Archer. So it's really not that good, but it's okay. Where the Twins are good is with their hitting, but the main thing here, which hurt them last year, is Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton is probably, when healthy, a top 20 player in the MLB. But the thing is, he's never healthy. I'm making my prediction based on the fact, and it's not a fact, based on the guess that I think we'll get 120 games from Buxton, 130. Now, if he goes down early with a bad injury, which he usually does, then they'll probably have a little bit less wins. But I think, assuming that Buxton's going to be healthy, he really helps this offense. You got guys like Kepler. They added Gary Sanchez. Of course, they added Carlos Correa, who's going to be huge to this offense. You've got Jorge Polanco, but I really think Buxton is going to be the main piece here. If he goes down, it's going to hurt them a lot. And I feel like that's kind of obvious. Now, in first place in the AL Central, you probably guessed it, I have the Chicago White Sox with a record of 98-64, exceeding the odds expectations by about 6 wins. Now, the White Sox are a team that probably has a top 5, if not top 3 roster in all of baseball on paper. Their pitching's pretty good. You got Giolito, Cease, Keuchel, Kopech finishing off the rotation with Reynaldo Lopez. I think Giolito is going to be Cy Young type of a player this year. Cease is solid. If Keuchel can be solid, and then if Kopech can be solid, develop a little bit more this year, this team's pitching is going to be better than I honestly thought. But where this team is absolutely scary is their hitting. I'll just read through the names so it's easier. And literally every name is basically a stud. You got Yasmani Grandal, Jose Abreu, Josh Harrison, who's really not a stud, but he's okay. Yohan Moncada, Tim Anderson, Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, AJ Pollock, Andrew Vaughn. Like, this is a team that has a good catcher, which a lot of teams don't have good catchers, and they really just don't have holes. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention their bullpen is insane with Graveman and Hendricks, and I mean, there's other pieces, but those two are the top 2 headlines. All right, moving on to my AL West predictions. Of course, once again, we'll start with the odds. So in 5th place, the odds have the Oakland Athletics with 70.5 wins. In 4th place, we've got the Texas Rangers with 73 wins. In 3rd place, we got the Los Angeles Angels with 84.5 wins. 2nd place, Seattle Mariners with 85.5 wins. And in 1st place, the odds have the Houston Astros with 92 wins. So my 5th place team in the AL West, and honestly, this is crazy. Not the team, but the record is crazy. I have the Oakland Athletics in 5th place with a record of 50-9. and 112. Now, I don't know if I'm missing something. I have them projected to lose 20 more games than the odds. I've got to be missing something, but this team's just not good at all. They've traded literally every player that was good except like Frankie Montas. Of course, I mean, there's major league players in the team, so they're still good baseball players, but when we're talking about the best of the best, I mean, they traded away all of their assets. I'm not talking about their farm system or stuff like that, but the top of the top players, you know what I'm saying? You know, Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Sean Manaea, all of those guys, they just traded them away. It seems like the A's don't want to win this year. In fourth place, I have the Texas Rangers with a record of 71 and 91. I could see this team doing a little bit better than what I have them at. They added John Gray, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. This team made a lot of big acquisitions, but I think as a complete roster, I still feel like they're missing a lot of pieces. In third place, I have the Seattle Mariners with a record of 80 and 82. Now, the odds have them finishing in second place. I'm different from the odds. I have them in third place, and I have them underperforming with only 80 wins. The Mariners have pretty solid pitching. You got Robbie Ray, Marco Gonzalez. It's going to be interesting to see what Logan Gilbert can do this year. This is a team that made some pretty big acquisitions. When you look at adding Jesse Winker, you added Eugenio Suarez, which I'm not that high on, but he's going to add some power to this lineup. You've got Mitch Haniger in there. You brought up Julio Rodriguez, who's going to be insane. Jared Kelenick's on this team. I think Ty France has a bounce back year. Adam Frazier's on this team too. Like, this team is pretty solid hitting. Their lineup is solid. Their pitching is solid. And I think they're about a 500 team. But honestly, watch out for the Mariners. They could be sneaky this year. They could be fighting for a playoff spot. Now, in second place in the AL West, I do have the Los Angeles Angels with a record of 84 and 78. So me and the odds agree on the wins, not the placement. The odds have the Mariners beating out the Angels, but I do have the Angels in second place. The Angels have a very good lineup. Now, the thing that scares me about the Angels is their rotation. You've got Shohei, you know he's going to be good. Syndergaard coming back from injury. Is he going to be his old self? Probably not, but he'll be solid. Then you got the back three in the rotation, Sandoval, Suarez, and Lorenzen, who honestly just scare me. It just looks like three players who are going to have like 5+ ERAs. Maybe Sandoval's in the 4s, but it's just not looking too good when it comes to their pitching. Their hitting is going to be good. You got Ohtani. Of course, you have Trout. I feel like this is kind of like a make it or break it year for Anthony Rendon, who's kind of been going on the downhill like recently, but I honestly feel like he will make it. I feel like he'll be solid in this lineup. I feel like he's not a bad player. Then you also got Jared Walsh, who I like a lot. So I have the Angels fighting for a playoff spot, but unfortunately falling short and finishing 7th in the AL. As we know, there's 6 playoff spots this year from the AL and the NL. That is going to conclude my AL predictions. We'll talk about the playoffs a little bit later, but first, we got to predict the NL. All right, so I just realized that I forgot to mention my first place team in this division, which is actually the Astros, which I have going 104 and 58. I'm not really going to talk about them. We know they're amazing, but I just figured I'd add this in here. Now it's time to talk about the NL. All right, we're starting off with the NL East, which is my team's division, the New York Mets. And of course, we're going to start off with the odds first. So in 5th place, the odds have the Washington Nationals with 70.5 wins. In 4th place, the odds have the Miami Marlins with 77.5 wins. In 3rd place, we got the Philadelphia Phillies with 86.5 wins. New York Mets beating them by half a game. 87 wins in 2nd place for the New York Mets. And in 1st place, we have the Atlanta Braves with 89 wins. So now it's time for my predictions. In 5th place, I do have the Washington Nationals with a record of 68 and 94. This team's lineup's just really not that good. You got Juan Soto, who I have winning the NL MVP this year, but other than that, it's not looking too good. You got Nelson Cruz, who, you know, he'll hit probably 30+ home runs. You also got Keibert Ruiz, which I feel like he's going to be pretty solid. But other than that, there's not too many really good pieces in this lineup. You know, Josh Bell will be solid. And then as far as the rotation goes, it's okay. You got Strasburg, who he gets hurt a lot. Patrick Corbin, really not great. Fetty, not great. This is just not a good team, and I don't think it's their year. I feel like the Nationals are a team that usually finds a way to get a couple more wins than people expected them to, but I really don't see it this year. Maybe they get into the 70 wins range, but I do have them underperforming the odds and only getting 68 wins. In 4th place in the NL East, I have the Miami Marlins with a record of 76 and 86. So me and the odds are pretty similar with our rankings. They have them with, I think, 1 more win. And this is just like a solid team. You've got Sandy Alcantara, Trevor Rogers, Pablo Lopez. They got Luzardo now. It's an okay, not an okay, it's a good rotation. The back end worries me a little bit. We don't know what we're going to get out of Luzardo. And then their 4th pitcher, you got Hernandez, who got some question marks around him. I think he's hurt right now. Their bullpen is solid, and I just really don't like their lineup. I think their pitching is good, but in the lineup, you got Jazz Chisholm, Jesus Aguilar, you got Miguel Rojas, and the big piece that I like in this lineup is going to be Jorge Soler, who was really good last year, especially in the postseason. Do I think it transfers over? Probably not. Probably not going to be the same player that he was in the postseason. And that's another reason why I'm not really too high on the Miami Marlins. All right, so now, in my opinion, we have the big three in the NL East, and this is where it starts to get really interesting. So, in third place, I have the Philadelphia Phillies with a record of 88-74. I'm going to be honest, I think I'm higher on the Phillies than most people. This is a team that is absolutely scary to me. You got Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Kyle Gibson, and Zach Eflin in the rotation. They added Jerry's Familia to the already solid bullpen. This is just an absolutely stacked lineup. Let me read you the names. You got JT Realmuto, insane. Rhys Hoskins, solid hit, very good hitter actually. Gene Segura, Bryson Stott, Didi Gregorius, Nick Castellanos. That's going to be huge. He is an insane hitter. So you got him, Odubel Herrera, Bryce Harper, who just won MVP, and Kyle Schwarber. So there's a lot of big additions to an already solid team in the Philadelphia Phillies, and this team is honestly scary. If they get into the postseason, which I think they will, they could upset somebody, assuming that they're a lower seed. But this is a team that, if they get into the postseason, could be very scary because of those big bats in their lineup. And not to mention, they have very good pitching. All right, so you guys are probably thinking, am I gonna put the Mets in first place, or am I going to put them in second place? Well, in second place, I do have the New York Mets with a record of 90-72. I'm pretty high on the Mets this year, but at the same time, I can't be too high on them because I'm always pretty high on them, and then I usually end up getting disappointed. So I've kind of learned at this point, like, don't get too high on the Mets, even though this year's looking really good, especially with the additions that we've added. So you take the team from last year, right, which is about a 500 team. I mean, they underperformed a little bit. I think they got like 77 wins, but you take that team, which is a solid team, right? You add Max Scherzer, who, I mean, we don't really got to explain who Max Scherzer is. You add Chris Bassett, Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Eduardo Escobar. I think the Mets had probably one of, if not the best off seasons out of any team. The bullpen side, you got Lugo, Trevor May, Edwin Diaz. Of course, I didn't mention this team has Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor, who I think Lindor is going to have a very good year. He's going to be in the conversation for MVP. Do I think he wins it? No. But do I think he could finish like 5th? Yeah, I think he can. Something that I do think hurts the Mets is the injury to Jacob deGrom. He's earliest going to be back in the beginning of June. So he's probably not going to be back in the beginning of June. He'll probably come back in late June, maybe even July, which is really not good. But I think even without Jacob deGrom, this is still a very strong team. And then once he comes back, it's just going to be even stronger, and they're going to be a very scary team in the postseason. And finishing in first place in the NL East, I do have the Atlanta Braves with a record of 94-68. So this is the team that just won the World Series. They did lose their best player probably in the postseason and last year. Acuna got hurt. So Freddie Freeman was kind of, I'm not going to say carrying them, but he was a big reason as to why they won. But they replaced him with Matt Olson, who's not that much worse. So it's basically the same team, and they're getting Ronald Acuna Jr. back. You got a solid rotation with Morton, Fried, Anderson, Ynoa, and Kyle Wright. And this is just a stack lineup. I feel like I really don't got to talk about it, but let me just go through it real quick. Travis d'Arnaud, who was solid, especially in the postseason last year. Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley. I mean, those three right there are just insane. You got Dansby Swanson, Eddie Rosario, Acuna, Duvall, Ozuna's back. This is just a scary team and probably a top 2 team in all of the NL. All right, we've got 2 more divisions to go. Moving on to my NL Central division predictions. Of course, we're going to start off with the odds again. We have the Pittsburgh Pirates in 5th place with 64 wins according to the odds. Chicago Cubs in 4th place with 73.5 wins. Tied actually with the Cincinnati Reds, who will put in 3rd place with 73.5 wins. In 2nd place, the odds have the St. Louis Cardinals with 86 wins. And then in 1st place, we got the Milwaukee Brewers with 90 wins. So my 5th place team in this division is going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates with a record of 57-105. This team's really not good at all. I mean, they've got some bright spots, but there's not really a lot to talk about here. I mean, let's talk about the rotation real quick. Let me run through it and just show you how terrible this rotation is. You got Jose Quintana, JT Brubaker, Zach Thompson, Mitch Keller, Dylan Peters. I mean, this has to be one of, if not the worst rotations in all of baseball. You've got some solid players. I like Ke'Bryan Hayes. Of course, you've got Kevin Newman and Brian Reynolds, who's just insane. But overall, this team sucks, so they're a 5th place team in my eyes. In 4th place, I have the Chicago Cubs with a record of 67-95. This is a team that initially I was honestly lower on because I don't think they're that good. They traded away their big three last year, but honestly, they didn't do too bad in the offseason this year, and they have some players that are kind of developing. So I did give them a little bit more wins. I had them lower at first, but honestly, I still might be too low on them. 67 wins, maybe they could get more than that, because when you look at the team, you got a decently strong rotation led by Hendricks and Stroman, who they added this year. You've got Wilson Contreras, Frank Schwindel on this team. Nick Madrigal's now on the team. Wisdom, who's developing into a solid player. The outfield is Happ, Hayward, and they added Suzuki, who is the odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year in the NL. It's a solid team. Are they a playoff team? No, but they could outperform what I have them at, 67 wins. The third place team that I have in the NL Central is going to be the Cincinnati Reds with a record of 75 and 87. I like the Reds a lot. At least at first I did, and then I realized their pitching's really not that strong, and I had to bump them down a little bit, but I like their hitting a lot. You've got Tyler Stevenson behind the plate, who's looking kind of promising. Joey Votto, of course, we know what he can do. Jonathan India's insane. You got Mike Moustakas, who's solid. The rest of the team's solid, but when you look at the rotation, you got Luis Castillo, who I think is actually hurt right now. Then you got Maley. The rest of the rotation's really not good. Their pitching is where it gets a little scary, but I think their lineup is solid. So I do see the Reds around 75 wins this year. In second place in the NL Central, I have the St. Louis Cardinals with a record of 91 and 71. The Cardinals are one of the scariest teams in my eyes in the entire MLB. This is a very good team that I would not want to face in the postseason. They got a really good rotation. You got Jack Flaherty, who's hurt right now, but he should be coming back soon. Adam Wainwright. They added Steven Matz. You got Miles Mikolas, Dakota Hudson. Not terrible. It's not terrible, you know, ending to the rotation. You got Gallegos in the bullpen. Yadier Molina's coming back for 1 year. Paul Goldschmidt, who's always underrated. He's going to be good. Nolan Arenado's on the team. Of course, Tyler O'Neill, who I just feel like this team has a lot of underrated players. Bader and Carlson in the outfield. Like, this team they're just a solid all-around team, and I think they are going to get 90+ wins this year and finish in second place in their division. And we'll talk about them in the postseason once we get to that part of the video, which we're honestly almost there. And in first place in the NL Central by 1 game, I have the Milwaukee Brewers with a record of 92 and 70. There are very few teams with a better rotation than the Milwaukee Brewers. When you start off with Corbin Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, then you also got Hauser and Lauer at the back end of the rotation. Their bullpen is crazy. You got Devin Williams, Josh Hader. Their hitting is really what scares me. There's a bunch of question marks. Is Adames going to be solid? Is Yelich going to go back to how he used to play a couple years ago? Is Renfroe going to continue to be solid? They don't really have studs on this offense. Their pitching is insane, and it's going to keep them in games. If they get into the postseason, which I do have them in the postseason, their pitching is going to be huge, but their lineup is just, I don't know. It's just a bunch of question marks, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do this year. All right, we're finally on to the last division of the video. We have the NL West, and of course, we're going to start off with the odds and what they have. They have the Arizona Diamondbacks in 5th place with 66 wins. The Colorado Rockies in 4th place with 70 wins. Then in 3rd place, we have the San Francisco Giants with 86 wins. San Diego Padres right above them with 86.5 wins. And of course, in 1st place, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers with 97.5 projected wins. All right, so my 5th place team in this division is going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks with a record of 57 and 105. This is a team that's just not very good. I mean, they've got a couple pieces, but they're just not good, you know, all around. You've got Zach Gallen leading the rotation, but other than that, I mean, Bumgarner's very old. Their other 3 starters, Merrill Kelly, you got Zach Davies, Caleb Smith, they're just not good pitchers. They do have Mark Melancon in the bullpen, but I just don't think it's really going to help too much. Well, it'll help, but I just think the team's not good enough for that to matter. The lineup's not terrible. Ketel Marte is going to have a big year. It's going to be interesting to see what Seth Beer can do on this team, but overall, I just don't see this team going anywhere. In 4th place in this division, I have the Colorado Rockies with a record of 63 and 99. This is a team that I do think is a little bit better than the Diamondbacks. I like their pitching more. You got Marquez, you got Kyle Freeland, Senzatella, Gomber, and I honestly like their lineup. Looking at it right now, you got CJ Cron, Brendan Rodgers, Ryan McMahon, who just got a big deal, Jose Iglesias, Chris Bryant, who they added randomly. Doesn't really make much sense, but they added Chris Bryant. That'll definitely give them a couple more wins than they would have had without him. Randall Grichuk, who's probably going to do pretty good in cores, and then of course Charlie Blackmon, who I like Charlie Blackmon. People are kind of low on him, but I still like Charlie Blackmon a decent amount. And I don't think the Rockies are going to be terrible, but do I see them going anywhere? No. So I have them in 4th place in this division. In 3rd place in this division, I have the team that somehow always exceeds expectations. I have the San Francisco Giants at a record of 87 and 75. They lost Kevin Gausman in the offseason. They also lost Buster Posey, of course, to retirement, but they do still have Logan Webb, who had a decently, or not a decent, but a really good season last year. They added Rodon. They got Desclafani, Alex Wood. solid. The bullpen's solid. Joey Bart's going to be the catcher now. Of course, that Posey has finally retired. I think Joey Bart's going to be solid. You got Brandon Crawford, who's underrated, which is weird at this point in his career, but he's still like underrated. Of course, Yaz is going to be good in the outfield. And this is a team that you don't really want to give a lot of wins to, because on paper they don't look insane, but they're just a team that knows how to win. They play well together. They're a well-managed, well-coached team, and you know they're going to get more wins than what you first expect them to get. In second place in this division, I have the San Diego Padres with 1 win ahead of the Giants, so I have them at 88 and 74. I think the injury to Tatis definitely hurts them. I mean, it doesn't help them, you know, kind of obvious, but what I'm saying is he's going to be out for some time, so I would have them with way more wins, not way more, but like maybe 5 more, but Tatis being out hurts them a lot. You still got Machado, Cronenworth, Hosmer. You add Luke Voit to this lineup, who he actually has a lot of power. Like he's gonna actually do well in this lineup, in my opinion. The pitching solid. They just added Sean Manaea. You got Yu Darvish, of course, Blake Snell, which is gonna be interesting. We're gonna have to see what we get out of him. But this is just a really good team. This is a playoff caliber team, and hopefully they can hang in there while Tatis is hurt, and I think they can. And then once Tatis comes back, they're gonna get scary. And in first place in the NL West, I have the team with the most wins in the MLB, in my opinion. The Los Angeles Dodgers with 109 wins, 53 losses. I mean, the Dodgers might have the best team that we have seen in MLB history. When you look at the rotation, you got Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias, which is just 3 studs right at the top. Even if Kershaw's on the decline, he's still a really solid pitcher. And then you also got Tony Gonsolin in there, Andrew Heaney. Their bullpen is insane. You got Trinan and Kimbrel. And I feel like I really don't have to speak on it, but let me just real quick go through their depth chart. We got Will Smith, insane. Freddie Freeman, insane. Gavin Lux, really solid. Justin Turner, really solid. Trey Turner, insane. Chris Taylor, Cody Bellinger, Mookie Betts, Max Muncy. This team is just ridiculous, like all around. Their pitching, their bullpen, their lineup. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a more well-rounded team in my entire life. All right, so it is now time for my MLB 2022 playoff predictions. Hopefully there's a bracket on the screen. I'm going to try to edit one on, and yes, I'm taking a lot of time to edit this video, so drop a like if you guys haven't already. But in the AL, we have the 1 seed Astros, which have a bye, the 2 seed Blue Jays, which have a bye, the 3 seed White Sox are going to be versing the Yankees in a best-of-3 series here in the wild card round. It is no longer single elimination, at least from my understanding when I did research on this. Looks like the wild card is a 3-game series, and then we have the 4-seeded Red Sox versus the 5-seeded Rays, once again in a 3-game series. And then in the NL, we have the 1 seed, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the 2-seeded Atlanta Braves. They both have byes. Then we have the 3-seed Milwaukee Brewers facing the 6-seed Philadelphia Phillies. Again, 3-game series. And then we have the 4-seed St. Louis Cardinals versus the 5-seed New York Mets. Before I predict these series, something that I want to say is, this is my opinion, and it's baseball. Any team can win any game. Like, these are pros. Obviously, there's favorites, but anything can happen. So that's what I want to say. I'm not going with chalk. I'm not moving on the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds just because I have them as the 1 and 2 seeds. But yeah, let's hop into it. So we are going to start with the AL. We get the 3-seed White Sox versus the 6-seed Yankees. 3-game series. And this was a little tough for me at first, but I think what it comes down to is the White Sox just have more pitching. The Yankees, I just don't think their rotation is going to be able to get it done. Of course, you've got Garrett Cole, who's going to be strong. But I actually have the White Sox sweeping the Yankees and moving on with a 2-0 win in the wild card round versus the Yankees. I just think the White Sox lineup is just too well-rounded, and it's just going to be too much for the Yankees. And I can just see it now. Like, a lot of this is just trying to, like, put the vision in my head and just kind of imagine what would happen. White Sox, Yankees, and just trying to imagine what I could see happening. And I could just see the White Sox getting to Cole, beating Cole, and they're going to verse, I don't know, Montgomery in the 2nd game and just demolish him and move on. 2-0 win for the White Sox. Next up, we got the 4-seeded Red Sox versus the 5-seeded Rays. And again, like I said earlier on in the video, what it comes down to with these two teams, and I did have the Red Sox ahead of the Rays in the division, is the lineup. I feel like both these teams really don't have the best pitching. For that reason, I like the Red Sox lineup way more than the Rays. So I'm going to have the Red Sox moving on 2-1. I'm not going to have them sweeping because the Rays, you know, they're a really well-managed team. They're not a bad team overall, like the lineup and their pitching. So I do think they'll be able to win a game, but I do have the Red Sox moving on to the ALDS with a 2-1 win over the Rays. Moving on to the NL, we have the 3-seed Brewers facing off against the 6-seed Phillies in, once again, a 3-game series. And this might be a surprise, but I have the Phillies winning 2-1 over the Brewers. And the reason for this is I just think the Phillies have a way better lineup than the Brewers. I don't like the Brewers lineup at all. Their pitching is insane. We know that. But their lineup scares me. I know they're probably going to throw Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff in the first 2 games. Then you got Freddie Peralta too, which is scary in a 3-game series. But I just think the Phillies can pull it off. The Phillies also, I think this is probably the worst matchup for the Brewers in the playoffs. The Phillies have a really good rotation as well. I feel like the Phillies will be able to match that pitching, and then I feel like their hitting is just way better than the Brewers. So I do have the Phillies winning 2-1. All right, now for the series with my team, we got the 4-seeded Cardinals facing off against the 5-seeded Mets. Once again, 3-game series. Now I might be biased, but I do have the Mets moving on with a 2-0 sweep over the Cardinals. Now, assuming what we know right now, Jacob deGrom is projected to come back early June, or that's the earliest he can come back, so he'll probably be back June, if not July. He'll be back for the playoffs, hopefully. Hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully Scherzer's healthy. Now, we're going to have deGrom, Scherzer, game 1 and 2 against this team, and I just think that that's going to overpower them. Keep in mind, the Mets have a very strong lineup, and so I just think the Mets are going to beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a very good team. They could win the series, but in my prediction, I have the Mets winning over the Cardinals 2-0 and moving on to the NLDS. All right, so now we are moving on to the ALDS. We got the 1-seeded Astros facing off against the 4-seeded Red Sox, this time in a 5-game series. Then we have the 2-seed Blue Jays facing off against the 3-seed White Sox, 5-game series, of course. In the NL, we have the 1-seeded Dodgers versus the 5-seeded Mets, and we have the 2-seeded Braves facing off against the 6-seeded Phillies. So the AL is chalk. We got the 1 through 4 still in there, and then in the NL, we had 2 upsets, the 5-seed one and the 6-seed one. The Mets and Phillies moved on. All right, so let's start with the Astros versus the Red Sox now. This is a very tough series. Let me know who you guys that would have winning the series in the comments below, but for me, I don't know what it is. I just got a weird gut feeling about the Red Sox this year. I got them moving on 3-2. Beating the Astros and moving on to the ALCS. I just think what it comes down to is the Astros are still a very good team. You got to have Tuve, you got Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, Bregman. This team's very strong. The pitching is solid. Verlander's going to be good. The Red Sox don't have the best pitching. I think it's okay, but the thing about the Red Sox is I like their lineup a lot. The Astros might be the better team on paper, but I think when it comes down to it, again, it's a game of baseball. Anyone can win any game, and I just like the Trevor Story, Xander Bogaerts, JD Martinez, Rafael Devers, and the rest of their players are solid. Like, I just love this Red Sox lineup, and so this is probably a surprise, but I do have the Red Sox moving on and beating the 1-seeded Astros 3-2. Moving on to the other game in the ALDS, we got the 2-seeded Blue Jays facing off against the 3-seeded White Sox. In a 5-game series, I have the Blue Jays moving on and beating the Chicago White Sox 3-1. I'm gonna be honest, there's not a lot of like stats, not a lot of science or whatever you want to call it behind this prediction, because these are 2 very equal teams, 2 very strong young teams facing off against each other, and this could really go either way. I just think the Blue Jays are a little bit stronger. I like their lineup a little bit more when it comes to this matchup, and so this game could go 5, but I do have the Blue Jays winning and moving on 3-1 over the White Sox. Moving over to the NL side, we have the 1-seeded Dodgers versus the 5-seeded Mets. My team, of course, if you guys didn't know that by now. You guys are definitely wondering, am I gonna put the Mets past the Dodgers, who probably have the best team on paper of all time? The answer is going to be no. I have the Dodgers beating the Mets in the NLDS 3-1. I do think the Mets can steal a game, and hey, I think the Mets can put up a fight. I'm definitely going to be rooting for them, especially if deGrom, Scherzer, Bassett are healthy. That's a very strong 3. I know the Dodgers got Buehler, Kershaw, Urias. You know, it's kind of equal. I mean, the Mets 3 is better, but you know what I'm saying? The Dodgers team is scary. They definitely have a better lineup than the Mets, and that's what it comes down to. The Dodgers lineup is just ridiculous. Trey Turner, the addition of Freddie Freeman, you got Betts, you got Bellinger, who honestly isn't that good anymore, Turner, Muncy. Like, do I even have to say all the names? I'm definitely missing some of them. Will Smith. It's just such a strong team. So I got the Dodgers moving on to the NLCS, beating the Mets 3-1. Next up, we have the 2-seeded Atlanta Braves facing off against the 6-seeded Philadelphia Phillies. And this was a very tough one for me to predict, but I do have the Atlanta Braves winning and moving on 3-2. This one's going to a game 5, but I do have the Braves moving on. I think this series, if it were to happen, is a lot closer than people were to think. Like right now, I think the Braves and Phillies are closer than people think. The Phillies, solid rotation. Very good lineup, but I think the Braves just have a better lineup. The rotations are a little bit similar, but I like the Braves lineup more. Once again, Travis d'Arnaud, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Eddie Rosario, Ronald Acuna Jr., Adam Duvall, Marcell Ozuna. I just like that more than the Phillies lineup. I know the Phillies have a really good lineup with Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, but I will be giving the Braves the edge and moving them on to face the Dodgers in the NLCS. All right, so we got the championship series matchups. We got the 2-seeded Blue Jays versus the 4-seeded Red Sox in the AL, and then in the NL, we have the 1-seeded Dodgers versus the 2-seeded Braves. All right, so now we have a 7-game series, and let's start with the AL. This is very tough for me. Very tough for me, and I don't even know if people have the Red Sox making the playoffs in their predictions. I don't know, but I have them here in the ALCS, and do I have them moving on to the World Series? The answer is yes. I have the Red Sox beating the Blue Jays in Game 7, 4-3. I think if it goes 7, the Red Sox will be able to have the offense to beat the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays, if they're going to win this series, it'll be like 4-2. I think they'll be able to manhandle them. But if the Red Sox are hot, if this goes 7, I think the Red Sox are winning it. Again, the Blue Jays, they definitely have the better pitching. They have the better bullpen. They have the better rotation. But when it comes to the lineups, these are two kind of even lineups. And again, I said I have a gut feeling. I like the Red Sox a lot this year. I like the addition of Trevor Story. I just feel like they're the more experienced team. They've been in the playoffs a lot. This Blue Jays team has a lot of young players. Are they ready to go to the World Series? Can they win it all? I mean, they can. They definitely have a shot at it, but I think experience matters. I like the Red Sox lineup a little bit more, even though the Blue Jays are insane. They're definitely going to put up crazy numbers this year. They'll have more wins than the Red Sox probably. That's not even a sure thing. At first, I had the Red Sox with more wins, but I switched it. But I think when it comes time to the playoffs, I think the Red Sox will be able to outplay the Blue Jays. I get the Red Sox moving on to the World Series with a 4-3 win over the Blue Jays. Now over to the NLCS, we have the 1-seeded Dodgers versus the 2-seeded Braves. We have the rematch. Last year, the Braves versus the Dodgers in the NLCS, and they won 4-2. They upset them. Everyone was going crazy, and then they went on to win the World Series. But this year, the Dodgers are going to be getting their revenge. I have the Dodgers moving on with a 4-2 win over the Braves. I don't know. Does anyone see the Dodgers losing? Like, they're just crazy from top to bottom. The bullpen, the rotation, the entire lineup. I mean, I've already talked about it and stressed it so much in this video. I feel like I don't have to anymore. But I do have them beating the Braves 4-2. And if this series happened, I mean, this is like must-watch TV, especially if you're a baseball fan. You know, if you don't really watch baseball, then I don't know, but if you like baseball, this series right here, Dodgers Braves, would be insane. All right, moving on to the World Series, we have the 1 seed from the NL, the Los Angeles Dodgers, facing off against the 4 seed from the AL, the Boston Red Sox, in a 7-game series. And as much as I like the Red Sox and their lineup, I think this is where it comes to an end. I think they've met their match right here in the World Series, and I think the Dodgers are going to win the 2022 MLB World Series over the Red Sox with a series score of 4-1. I think it's really not going to be close. I like the Red Sox a lot. The Dodgers have by far better pitching. It's not even a conversation. It's not even a debate. You know what I'm saying? They got better starters, better relievers, and then I think even when it comes to the lineup, I think the Dodgers, I don't even know if it's like a think. I think it's like I know the Dodgers have a better lineup than the Red Sox, and I think what it would come down to is the Red Sox would need some crazy luck. They'd need a miracle, or they'd need some sort of injuries, because just on paper, the Dodgers are by far the better team, but that goes for a lot of series. The Dodgers are just the best team in baseball. The season hasn't even started, but they're going to be scary. They're going to be insanely good this year, and that's why I have the Los Angeles Dodgers winning the 2022 MLB World Series. All right, guys, that is it for my 2022 MLB predictions for the entire season and the playoffs. This video is long. I've never put this much effort into a video, especially on my second channel, and I've never edited a video like this on my second channel. Normally I just quickly record and post it, but this one I'm actually putting a lot of effort into. The recording is an hour-and-a-half long just on the recording, so the video, I don't know, it's probably gonna be like 45 minutes maybe, but yeah, I would really appreciate it if you guys could drop a like, comment, let me know who you guys have winning the World Series. Give me your World Series matchup. What is the craziest thing that I said in the video? I really want to know your guys' thoughts. This is going to be a very good MLB season. I'm excited now. If you guys are too, or if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.